Cool. Right on.
Yeah.
Congrats. Yeah, it's a fun show to listen to, and it's like I don't know. I feel like a lot of just normal, I don't know, civilians or whatever, non-comic people don't even think about that process, like how the joke writing process even takes place. So like, how do you kind of write a joke, or what's your process for it?
So there's no like one specific like process that I use for every time. A lot of times, I mean, what I think most comics that I know do, and it happens to all of us, is uh, basically like a lot of times you'll just be doing like going about your business, and something just strikes you as funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like you observe something, or you just get this like funny idea, so you write it down, and you work on it, or you talk with other people about it. Um, and that's one way of doing it. And then another way is you can like learn these different things that um, like especially as you get used to writing jokes for the stage, which is kind of it for people who start out stand up, like a lot of people comment on how it's like, it's not like going to a party and just like telling jokes to your friends or whatever. Like you actually like there there's all these things that like come into play. Like you have to try to like yeah, you can't drag it out for too long before you go, like try to get a laugh, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so there's these different like exercises that you can do, or for just like sitting down and like trying to just write jokes. I'm not an expert at it, uh, so I'm kind of back and forth with how disciplined I am about it. But a lot of times I will just like, if I think of something funny, I write it in my notes app in my phone. If I can think of a full joke, which happens sometimes, I just write the whole thing down, and then I'll pretty much try it like that at the next open mic I go to. Um, but more often than that, I just wind up like sitting with these ideas, and then at a certain point, I sit down at my computer, and I start like writing them out. I tend to write out the wording because with telling a joke on stage, um, I guess the like a good rule of thumb is to try to get to a laugh at least every 18 to 20 seconds. Because I don't know why this is the case, but like yeah, if you drag it out longer than that, it's hard to build a momentum with a set.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's like one thing, is just trying to get the wording like perfected so that you can get to the punchline, like say everything that you need to say that needs to be there, and then take anything out that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like can think of funnier words to use or whatever. Um, and then a big part of the joke writing is obviously performing it and seeing how it does. And then if it if it's not as good as you want it to be, you go back to like, all right, how do I make this better?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that answer your question at all? Or
Yeah, no, that kind of makes sense. So you just kind of come up with, a premise or an idea or something just throughout, living your life, make a
yes,
note of it, and then you'll go through and then really kind of you'll almost write out like an exact script on how to say it.
yeah, and different people do this differently. So I know a handful of comics who, actually, a lot of comics have told me that they go on stage. For them, they go on stage with an idea and they try to work it out while they're performing.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how their brain operates. And for me, I typically can't do that. So I have to have the wording in my head before I get on stage. And then
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't work, I will just, I'll either get rid of the joke or I'll try to rewrite it.
Right.
But yeah, and then, even for someone like me who does that, then when I'm in the moment performing, sometimes, I do change it up, and I'm like, oh, okay, this hits a little better. Which is also a good reason to record your sets every time you perform. It's like a lot of comedians say you should always record, because if you improvise something off the top of your head and it goes well, you can go back and hear what you did and use it,
Right.
which is very fun.
Yeah, that makes sense. That seems like because with like at least for giving speeches and stuff, they'll tell you like not to script everything out because you'll like inevitably forget it, and kind of trip yourself up. But
Right.
that's not really the case for you with this, is it?
Uh, I think that also depends on the kind of comedy. So a lot of comics do storytelling, and I think um, for storytelling, I think there's probably more flexibility in how you can like tell it, as long as you are hitting each punchline and you're not adding like in specifically a comedy context. If you're telling a story, it has to have punchlines in it. You know, if it has like a longer setup with no laughs, then the payoff has to be really good, and it has to like build up to something that's just like laugh, 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 laugh. You know, whereas in a regular storytelling context, obviously you wouldn't have to do that because people would just want to hear your story. Uh, for
Hopefully.
me, I do a lot of short jokes and one-liners, so the wording is kind of crucial. So once I find a good wording, I do not mess with it unless I think I can make it funnier. Um, but yeah, for some longer jokes, uh, I guess yeah, you can be a little flexible. I tend to stick to the wording as much as possible, except for sometimes I just will like throw comments in there that it's just like a funny way of transitioning or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that stuff just kind of happening like organically and stuff on stage too.
Yeah, and there's a few things. I mean, the more you perform, you pick up on things that work for you, and it sounds like you're just kind of speaking off the top of your head, but if you've been doing it for a while, it's very premeditated, you know. So like
Hmm.
I tell a lot of jokes, and some of them are kind of corny, and a lot of time they'll get like really good laughs in one room, and in other rooms people will be like because it's like too corny. But so
Right.
I've just gotten used to saying things like, if a joke, like I usually perform pretty well, and if a certain specific joke does like gets like a groan or whatever, I'll just be like, yeah, that's stupid, and that usually gets a laugh. Or if it's